All right, let's move to the fun stuff here. We talked about binomial expansion, right? That's when we multiplied two binomials. We did a grid method. We did the distributed property. And then we looked at special products, right? We squared them, squared binomials. We did the difference of squares. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to reverse this process, okay? So you're going to get a quadratic, which is something that looks like this x squared plus bx, right? X squared plus bx plus c, that part. And what we're going to do is we're going to reverse it. We're going to turn it into two binomials. So here's the standard that we're going to do. We're going to factor quadratic expressions to reveal the zeros of the function that it defines. And we are going to go through this about 3 different times and escalate sort of the levels of difficulty. These are super fun though. If you like puzzles at all, if you like Sudoku, stuff like that, then I think you're going to have a good time with this. Okay, it's one of those. You'll be fine. All right, so let's quickly review. Here's two binomials, and what we're going to do is we're going to multiply these out. And so I want you to see what that looks like prior to the multiplication, right? And then we'll go ahead and multiply it. So x times x, we're going to get x squared. X times 4, we're going to get plus 4x. Then we're going to do 3 times x, so 3x. And then 3 times 4, which is plus 12. Once you get good at these, you can start to see your middle term, right? These middle terms are typically going to add, right? And what I'm hoping you'll start to see is that you'll start to see how these middle terms, you can like derive these or get that combined middle term from here. So, as you get good at this, you'll be able to go from here to here pretty seamless. Okay, well, this is what we're going to do in this section. In the next like 4 sections, actually more than that, is we're going to start with this idea, okay, and then we're going to reverse it and we're going to turn it back into that. Okay, so let's just jump right in. Okay, here is one, and we're just going to factor this. Now, here's the goal: is I want this thing to look like x plus something, and then multiply it times x plus something. And here's the idea. Okay, look at your first term and you look at your end term, right? So my end term is positive 18, and so what I'm looking for is I'm looking for 2 factors of 18, right? So how do I get 18? I could do 1 times 18. I could do 2 times 9. I could do 3 times 6. Okay. Now, if you remember from the previous slide, what we do here is you end up adding, right? You end up adding these. In fact, let's go back. Right here, we ended up adding, right, 3x and 4x, so we ended up adding it and getting 7x. And then when you multiply 3 and 4, you get 12. So what we're looking for is here, we're looking for 2 numbers that are going to multiply, right? 2 factors of 18, right? To multiply 18, but that add to 11. All right, well, if I quickly look at my little list here, 1 and 18, that's going to add to 19. 2 and 9, bingo, that's 11. And then 3 and 6 would add up to 9. Okay, so I'm going to fill this in, x plus 2, x plus 9, and there we go. There we've got our factored form. And let's go ahead and check it. We got x times x is x squared. I've got 2 times x is 2x, and 9 times x, well, I'll just do this. X times 9x, and then 2 times x is 2x. And if you use your grid, if you use the box form, that's fine too. You're more than welcome to use that. I don't really care. Then once I get here, I'm going to get x squared plus 11x plus 18. Okay, and that's the same as what we have up top. All right. Okay, let's try another one. Now we've got a negative in the middle here. Okay, my middle term is negative. So again, we're going to look like something x. Okay, and then x and something. Well, let's look. I'm going to add, I'm looking for 2 factors that are going to be of 8, right? So I got 1 and 8, and I got 2 and 4. That's pretty much it. Now, what I'm looking for is 2 of them that are going to multiply to 8, but I'm going to add to get a negative 6. Well, how am I going to add to get a negative, right? If this is positive, that means that both of these pieces, right, your n numbers on each side here have to be either both positive or both negative. They're both going to be the same in order to get this. Well, if I'm going to add them to get a negative 6, then both of these have to be negative. And so I'm going to say x minus 2, x minus 4. Okay, and let's go ahead and check it. We got x times x is x squared, and I got x times negative 4 is negative 4x, and then negative 2 times x is negative 2x, and negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8. Combine my like terms, x squared minus 6x plus 8. Looks the same to me. All right, let's keep going. Next, now we have one here that looks like we have a negative, right? So I'm looking for two terms or two numbers, right? Or two factors of 15 here that are going to add to 2. Now, here's the thing. In order to get a negative here, I'm going to have one negative and one positive, okay? So really what I'm doing is if I'm going to have a positive number and a negative number, right, that multiply here, when I add them, really I'm finding the difference. So I'm looking for what two factors of 15, right, are 2 apart. That's what this positive 2 means, right? It's the difference. It's saying whenever you do a difference, you're really saying how far apart are two things. So I'm looking for two factors of 15 that are only 2 apart. And the bigger one is going to be the positive one, right? I'm looking for 2 of them where the bigger one is 2 above the lower one. That's why this is going to be a positive 2. Well, let's think. We got 1 and 15. Those are not 2 apart. And then I got 3 and 5, and those are 2 apart. So if I just plug this in, let's say I put 5 here and 3 here. Okay, these are 2 apart, but I got to be careful about where this negative is. And let's go here and we'll do x squared, and we got plus 3x minus 5x minus 15. Okay, so we got our first term, x squared, and we got our n term correct, right? Minus 15. But I got positive 3 and negative 5, and that's going to be negative 2x. So that means that I flipped these, okay? These are backwards. And in order to, fix that, I can do this very easy thing of switching the signs. Okay, and then when I look through here, that's going to be a negative 3x and a positive 5, which is going to give me a positive 2x there, and then that matches up. Okay, so remember, negative term here on the end. All right, when you do that, you're finding the difference of the two terms, and they're going to be 2 apart, where the the bigger number is 2 above the other number, right? So it's positive 5 and negative 3. Okay. And a lot of this is just going to require you to do practice. And speaking of which, why don't you go ahead and why don't you try doing each of these 4 right now? All right, let's quickly walk through these. The first one, 2 factors of 12, that when I add them, I'm going to get 7. Well, that's going to be x plus 4 and x plus 3. Okay? 2. Hopefully I had a chance to do it. Let's take a look. Okay, since this is a positive 2, I'm looking for 2 factors of 12 that add to get negative 8. Okay, well, you could try 1 and 12. That's not going to work. I could try, oops, let's make this an x squared. I don't know why that says t squared. I'm looking for 2 of these right here. So let's see, 1 and 12. Nope, that doesn't work. 2 and 6, that'll work. Right, 3 and 4 doesn't work because that'll add up to 7, like we did here. So it's going to be x, and it's going to be x minus 4. No, oops, sorry. X minus 6 and x minus 2, right? So it's negative 6 and negative 2 make negative 8. 6 times 2, 12. All right, let's go to the bottom one. Number 3, okay, I'm looking for, okay, now I have 2 numbers, right? So I've got 16, negative 16. So I need 2 numbers that are going to be, the difference between them is 6, okay? Well, let's see. It's not going to be 1 and 16. It's not going to be 4 and 4. 8 and 2, well, those are 6 apart. So I can do w minus and w plus, right? And so I need 8 and 2. So it's a matter of where do I put the 8? Do I put the 8 here with the negative? Well, no, because this is saying that the bigger number, right? They're 6 apart, but the bigger one is going to be positive. Okay, so w plus 8 and then w minus 2. Okay, and if you expand this out, you'll see it adds up correctly. All right, last one. I want to know, and this is negative 20, so I'm looking for 2 factors of 20, where the difference is, well, this is really a 1 there, right? So they're 1 apart. Well, I'm hoping you saw that the 2 factors of that are 4 and 5. So it's going to be m, and let's see, this is going to give me my clue, right? The bigger number is 1, all right? It's going to be 1, or it's going to be negative. It's going to be 1 below, or it's 1 away from. Sorry, let me start that over. Okay, so you know the minus, what this is saying is the difference is 1, and the negative means the bigger number is negative. So m minus 5, m plus 4. Okay, the biggest key here is you got to be able to check your answer, and you got to make sure. Sometimes it's just going to be trial and error. You're going to mess around with them, okay? But start to find, if you keep making mistakes, try to see what mistake it is that you're making, okay? All right, well, That's pretty much the end of that. So we'll do some practice in class, and then we'll start doing this idea of where we'll take these and we'll start solving them. So for instance, like let's say on number 4, if this whole thing is equal to 0, then what I can say is each of these pieces is equal to 0. So I can say, all right, m minus 5 is equal to 0. So m is equal to 5. And then I could say m plus 4 is equal to 0. So that means m has to be equal to negative 4. So those are my two solutions, 5 and negative 4. Okay, see you tomorrow.